Welcome to Woo Woo with Rachel Dratch, the podcast that explores the unexplained with humor and curiosity. Hello and welcome to Woo Woo with Rachel Dratch, here with Irene Bremis. Hi, Irene.
Hi, Rachie.
Okay, Rachie.
I love that, Rachie.
Today we have a special guest, I'm going to say, because we've interviewed a lot of comedians, a lot of my friends, but Irene is very connected as well. And today she's connected to the art world, which I'm very excited about. We have a very renowned artist with us, Rachel Feinstein. Say hello, Rachel.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
Rachel has been in museums around the world. Her art has been in museums. And we got to go see one of her exhibits.
Which was extraordinary at the Jewish Museum.
Irene uses the word extraordinary, but I'm going to say this time I'm using the word extraordinary too. And I never used it. So
Thank you.
it has more meaning. But
When you say it, it's true.
But Irene, tell us how you two met, because you go way back into like the early working days of New York, right?
That's right. You know, this is amazing. Like, we met when I was waitressing at this place called Bar 6. Rachel was the manager. But Rachel, I used to drive you crazy because I would always make mistakes. I was highly neurotic, and you were always so kind to me. And you were never like, oh my God, Rachel, I'm going to have to separate the two. You'll be Rachie.
I'll be Dratch.
You'll be Dratch.
Dratch,
Okay, we're going to call you Dratch. We're going to go by the last name.
Cool.
Dratch, you never saw a manager like Rachel. She was like, remember the outfits that you used to wear?
Well, that's why I got hired to be
so
manager.
hot.
I was basically doing performance art in at that time. And so I would make these, my friend Megan said I look like a Barbie doll that you had played with too much. I completely, and
that's
before,
very in right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's
Before
way
the
before.
movie,
Yeah,
yes.
before that was
Okay.
an original statement. Now it's not. Now it's weird Barbie. I had white platinum hair that never really was able to be tamed. So it looked completely crazy and frizzed out. I had plucked all my eyebrows. So I had this little line for my eyebrows, like very Jean Harlow. I wore tons and tons of makeup with shiny red lipstick. And then I would take stockings and I would rip them and I would put my head through the crotch and make my arms where the legs were. And they were all ripped and messed up. And I'd wear a tiny bra. And sometimes I'd wear underwear with a black pubic merkin hanging out that you could see through my skirt, and I would wear it at work.
I can attest to this, and she always had lipstick on her teeth. That
Yes,
was very
all the
endearing,
time,
by the way.
always.
I would always
Not on
Rachel, you
purpose.
But I remember one time Rachel was wearing this knitted outfit, this like dress. And then remember you went to make a call in the back, and no, you went in the back, and then everybody got up to make a phone call. It was when you actually put the public phone in the back.
Oh, yes.
They all got up, and they went to the bathroom.
They wanted to go watch. Yes.
They all followed her because you could see right through that
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is my grandmother had made that see-through dress, knitted dress for me. So I grew up in Miami in the 70s and the 80s with a completely wacky, very bohemian family.
Beautiful.
And my dad was a dermatologist. He would bring home magazines called Cutis that were literally skin magazines. And they would have images of naked people in advanced syphilis and horrible types of awful. And I grew up seeing that was what a naked man's penis would look like, with these syphilis sores. And so I had a very strange idea of how things were, and the first time I saw a penis, I remember I'm holding it,
Where
and
are the
I
swords?
said,
Where's the woo-woo in this?
And I just said, wow, it looks like the skin of a newborn mouse. I didn't know that it would be so.
And the guy's like, mouse, thank you
And
so much.
And quickly the penis was withdrawn and put back into the pants. And so I've always had a very strange reality towards like bodies and being a woman and kind of just thinking, just put it all out there.
Yes.
And that's, I guess, what is a good leeway into that's why I became an artist and what my art is really about. I think it's this idea that, and I became a religion philosophy major at college because I was very interested in the idea of why are women considered second-class citizens to men? And why is this? Why has this happened? And here we are, we're like, if we don't exist, the world doesn't exist. We are the people that bring life into this world. And it's always been just shocking to me that instead of being celebrated for that, we've been completely put down for that. And it's been a big mission of mine that I've been unconscious about. The idea of the pubic merkin and all that kind of really affrontal femininity was, I think, my way of kind of trying to work through that as a very young woman. And then now as I'm an older, 52-year-old woman, I'm very now consciously aware of what I want to do and what I want to say and thinking about, if that makes sense.
You know, Rachel, one of the things that I love the most about you is I feel like, artists often, whether they're in show business or they're comics or, painters, every actors, they have to find their voice. I feel like you really knew who you were early on.
It's true. I did. And I think that has a lot to do with being put in a place in childhood that was extremely isolated from the rest of the world. Like Miami in the 70s and 80s didn't have any culture. There was really no museums to be thought of. There was no art film place or where you'd go see ballet. And in a lot of ways, that rawness of being nowhere in that zone was able to be created in my own zone, in my own head. And my parents were very encouraging. Like when I started to work with my hands very early on and build things out of boxes when I was a little kid, my dad would bring home, when you go to the dentist and you bite down on that, that wax.
The molding.
Yeah, he would bring boxes of that stuff for me to just work with.
Wow.
And then he would bring me plaster bandages and he would just bring me cool stuff. and alginate, which is what you use to make the dental molds. The whole mold is that weird, kind of foamy stuff that they put in your mouth and it hardens in a tray. So then I was making casts of my vagina and my anus with the dental alginate. And then I started to wear it as jewelry. That's when I was about 17. And then I got a tattoo of my vagina and my armpit from one of those casts. I ended
Wait a
up,
minute.
yeah.
I need a minute here.
She's going to undress in the studio.
I'll show
I
you.
need several minutes to absorb this.
Yeah,
Okay.
so here, I will show you. There.
Here's her vagina tattoo underneath her arm with
ants crawling around and then killing
her armpit
a
into her
dragonfly
back.
up
and
there.
then a dragonfly.
Yeah, which of course for a father as a dermatologist that horrified him.
Wait, how old were you when you did the tattoo?
So I had to wait till I was 18.
Okay.
No one would give me a tattoo until I was 18 because legally you have to be 18. And I did it when I came up to Columbia University to New York. And that was in 1989 when tattoos were illegal in New York City. They were completely illegal because of hepatitis.
Really?
Yeah. You could not get a tattoo. There were no tattoo parlors. There was nothing.
Wow.
So I found a guy through a friend of a friend up in the Bronx, and I went by myself. And the guy was really creepy. And I was originally going to have it all done in more private areas, and I was so worried about being alone with this guy that I was like, here, but first he did the dragonfly. I originally really wanted to have a really cool horsefly on my butt because I wanted to show the idea of beauty decays. And here I was at the absolute...
Wait, you're 17, 18 years old, and you're having these thoughts.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
it's my mind is totally blown.
Well,
when I was 18,
it's because of what I saw growing up with all these bodies decaying and these magazines and these images. And also Miami is about rot and decay. People think it's this let's go to the beach. There are crazy animals flying, the palmetto bugs that are the size of your whole finger, flying around, eating lizards, and then lizards being eaten by iguanas.
Right.
All that
Predacious.
stuff I just saw as a child, thinking life just eats itself constantly. Right. And then it's reborn. And then the birth comes from women, and then the death, happens, and then more birth happens. And it's just this incredible cycle. And I just really seem to see it very clearly as a child.
It's incredible that you did all this thinking about your tattoo. There's so much poignancy, and I just got a dolphin on my ass in 1992, and I regret it, sweetie.
I regret mine.
It's mutating into a whale now. Yes,
totally.
So wait, what? I still have to go back to the plaster cast.
Yes,
I don't want to go whiz by the plaster cast.
What? Well, it's alginate. Plaster would definitely be very bad on your vagina.
So alginate. So what made what drove you to was that sort of
that was
an artistic?
The truth is, I think a lot of things. That's a really interesting thing that I think like painters and sculptors think about is the material. So like as a painter, you're only thinking about paint. That's your material.
Yeah.
So there's this really kind of interesting thing. If you're a painter, are you making a painting of an idea just to use the paint? Or are you making a painting with the paint that then becomes an idea? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So paint is its own thing. It's a very major thing. It's been there historically for such a long time that it's an alchemical kind of really cool thing. Like if you start getting the oil paint in this kind of really beautiful moment where it becomes, you feel like you're actually putting on someone's flesh. It's so magical and amazing. And then with sculpture, there are millions of different materials. You can make it out of wax, you can make it out of plaster, you can make it out of stone, you can make it out of wood, you can make it out of alginate. So for me, when I was that young, my dad just plopped down this weird jar of alginate, which comes powdered. It's not like plaster. And you mix it with water, but then it's porous and soft, so you can put, and it's not drying the way plaster is. You can put it inside your body, which is why they use it in the mouth.
Right.
And so I put it in my mouth in the beginning when I was having fun with it, and then I thought, jutting, I can put it in my vagina, you know? And then the funny, yeah, because it's the same, it's another inside part of the body. And I'm a woman and I get to do that and guys don't. And I just kind of patted it in there one day. And the funny thing is then it started dripping down and it went into my anus as well. So I had this perfect cast of my vagina and my anus and I cut them. And I wore the vagina as a necklace and an anus as my earring, as my drop earring. And I would go out wearing this every day. I would be like this totally weird person that, because no one knew really what it was. It was a negative cast.
Okay, yeah.
So the anus poked out and then the vagina poked in kind of thing, if that makes sense. So it was very abstract actually. And I would have used that as a mold to pour a positive if I wanted to, but I never did. I kept it as a negative. And then eventually the alginate dries and it becomes very, almost like bone-like when it dries because the water seeps out of it and it looks really cool in a different way. So I started to wear the dried ones too.
Yeah, I remember it.
So that was like, yeah, I was definitely a very unusual
I think
teenager.
It's pretty cool that that's actually the path you end up taking.
That's like
you
the genesis of sculpting.
You didn't end up becoming, whatever, administrative assistant. I mean, whatever. Like, or something. I'm trying to think of something really straight and narrow. Like you follow
my
this
parents,
trend.
actually, weirdly, my parents didn't want me to become an artist because they're terrified. Like, how are you going to make money? No one makes money.
Right.
So they were
wrong.
obsessed with me marrying a nice Jewish doctor and becoming a nice housewife. And so there was a split second where they like worked on me enough that I was like, oh, maybe I do need to do that. And they're like, you can make your sculpture in the garage.
Like a hobby.
And so there was a part of me that there was a second where I thought, yeah, maybe that's the way to go. And there was a guy that I started to date a little bit at Columbia that was on his way to becoming a very successful doctor. And I just remember like thinking, what am I doing? Like, this is absolutely going to kill me. And there's been various moments in my life where I realized I could have gone down that path, you know?
Yeah.
And like, there's another moment where I almost opened up a restaurant with Steve. He had asked me to start a restaurant. And I was loving the restaurant world so much and I was going to do it. And then my husband said, and we found the spot and I was going to do it. And then John's like, do you realize this is something you're going to do for the rest of your life? This is not something you do on the side. And then you make art and you run a restaurant on the side. This is your life. And I called Steve up and I said, no, I'm sorry. I changed my mind.
I'm so glad you did.
So that was another one. Like there's these moments where you just kind of, you're unconsciously just going along with it. And you have to be conscious.
Yeah.
You have to be aware.
Yeah.
Because so many people find themselves at 7 years old being like, what the fuck just happened? You know, it's so scary, but it happens all the time to people.
You know, Rachel, one of the things that I also love about you is that I feel like you were always this, you're like a walking artwork in your own right. Like, so everything that you do is literally an extension of who you are. I felt like you were somebody that was, I don't know. Even just walking in a room, just all the little things that you dress yourself, your attire, your little sculpture, your anus and your vagina hanging around your neck was sort of like an extension of the work that you were doing. And I remember going to your first art show where you had at Exit Art. I can't believe it.
The humping bed.
Tell everybody about the humping bed.
Okay, which is another huge pivotal life-changing moment for me because so I was asked to be in 2 shows right out of college, and it was a big honor, and it made me think, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be an actual artist. And one of them was at the Sonnabend Gallery, which is a very famous gallery. Castelli Gallery and Sonnabend were the 2 major galleries in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I was in this group show, and this artist named John Curran also had a piece in the show. And so that was the first time I saw his work. And it was like a big busty, like kind of girl, like drawing. And I didn't meet him. He didn't come to the opening. He was already more successful than me. So he didn't even have to show up to the group show. And I was there, and it turns out my sculpture fell down like right before the opening because I didn't use anchors in the ceiling. So it was a crazy, intense experience. And then in September, I was in another show called Let the Artist Live at a gallery space called Exit Art that no longer exists. It was on Broadway between Prince and Spring. And they asked 6 artists to build sculptures that they lived inside for 6 weeks. You had to live in your sculpture in the gallery for 6 weeks.
So you're sleeping in this thing, and then other artists are also living in their own.
So there's this huge, giant raw room that has like nothing in it. It's just like, it used to be, I guess, a factory or something. I mean, it must be 8,000 square feet. It's huge. And when you walked in, there were 2 large rooms, one room, and then you'd go into the back and there'd be another large room. And I was in the front room, and my gingerbread house was kind of right dead center, like as you're like walking towards it. And then there were there's a giant Buddha head. I remember a Chinese artist welded a huge Buddha head that he slept in. Okay. And then there was and then there was a guy that made like a little American kind of 1950s white picket fence house with flowers in the front and stuff like that. And then there was a woman in the back who made a gigantic red dress that she would sew every day and sleep in the dress. And then there's another artist who made an inside garden, and she slept in the garden. And then there's a guy that made an office. He had a crazy, messy office, and he slept in his office. That was like the 6 pieces.
Wow.
I remember. I can't believe I just thought of all 6 of them.
Wow.
But so basically we were all there all the time.
Okay.
And so I built, because I was a religion and philosophy major whose thesis paper was on Sleeping Beauty, and the original Sleeping Beauty story that nobody knows, which I'll tell you if you want to hear about it. It's basically, it's about, she was raped by a king in her sleep. She never woke up. And then her body births eternal twins, a boy and a girl, and they claw up her body and they try to find her breast to suckle from it. And then they suck out the sheath under her nail that had put her into the coma. And then she wakes up. And the real story is about how a woman is not woken up by the kiss of a man. It's a woman is woken up by the needs of a child trying to suckle from her body. It's like a completely different message to womankind. And that was written by an alchemist writer from Naples in 16 something. It's called Talia, Sun and the Moon. And the brothers Grimm took that story and changed it. And then Walt Disney took that story and changed it even more. So it's about violence. And part of my thesis is I looked up if women can actually birth children if they're in a coma, and if the child will actually find the milk. And it's true. There's actually documented cases that my dad helped me find the story. So it's this crazy story. So anyway, I built this Sleeping Beauty, like kind of like castle on top of a pink bedspread in a 4-poster canopy bed within a gingerbread house. And you would peek through this frosted glass window to see me with my white platinum hair and my full made up face, sleeping under this canopy postered crazy bed with a pink satin comforter with then this giant castle and mountaintop built onto the bedspread. And the whole thing was motorized to hump me. So when I was sleeping, I was being raped by this castle, basically. And so, and I would sleep there every night, and you would see me, and I would work at Bar 6. So I wouldn't get there till about 5:30 in the morning, and I'd take sleeping pills, and the people would see me sleep there
So
till
you would
3.
sleep there during the day.
Yeah, the people would see me till 3 p.m. mostly. I'd usually sleep till 3 p.m. And it would be a weird experience of waking up and seeing shadows of people watching me. How weird is that? As like your feeling of sleeping is knowing that you're being watched. And so in this process, I was wearing my crazy Merkin underwear outfit, and I had a T-shirt that said "I'm a satisfier" that was skin tight, and I would wear that without a bra. And I'm standing there in front of my gingerbread house, and this man who was very oddly dressed this was early September, so it was very hot, no air conditioning. We're all sweating our asses off. And he's wearing a leather jacket, like practically down to his legs, a leather vest, leather pants, and leather like elevator boots. And he walks over to me and goes, "You look like John Curran's paintings." And I go, "Oh, I don't really know who he is." And then I realized, oh, I did see his art just recently. I said, "No, I don't really look like, I don't know what you're talking about." And the guy was so weird that I kind of wanted to walk away from him, get away from him. And anyway, he kept calling me on the payphone, because it was 1994, no cell phones. And he kept trying to reach me, and I would pick
This
up.
guy
Yeah,
that
this
is
guy.
random? Okay.
And then he kept saying, "It's so uncanny that you need to meet John Curran."
Wow.
And I kept saying, "No."
Here's the woo-woo.
This is the
know,
woo-woo. We got
yeah.
to the woo-woo.
Not that we need to. This is fascinating
Yes,
unto
it is.
itself,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
didn't even know where this was going.
But it is
Yeah.
a fascinating.
So this guy was calling and saying, "You have to meet this person."
Yes. So
Okay.
he kept calling, and I kept saying, and then finally at one point, I finally just told everybody, if this guy calls, tell him I'm not around. I don't want to talk to him. And this went on for a week. And by the next Saturday, the show had been open for 1 week. It was very crowded. There was at least, I don't know, like 50 to 80 people in this big, giant, cavernous space. It was in the old days when you could get these places in Soho that no one really wanted. So on Saturday, the week after, I have just woken up. It's late afternoon, and I'm wearing this "I'm a Satisfier" T-shirt with moccasins, I remember, and this underwear with the pubic hair coming out of it. And then I see this incredibly tall, insanely handsome man, like a whole head and a half taller than everybody else, walk in. And I just looked at him, and I walked up to him, and he walked towards me, and then I kissed him half on the mouth and half on the cheek, trying to be like not on the lips completely, because that would be a little forward. But meanwhile, he actually pushed back, and he said, "Are you Rachel?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he said, "I'm John Curran." And so I wasn't expecting him, because I had been technically I hadn't been expecting him, but I realized I must have thought he was coming because that guy must have got in touch with him, but I didn't know that was John. For whatever reason, I kissed him. And I think it's just because he was so handsome and he was so my type. I just kind of was very ballsy, and I did this thing, and then he was really shocked. And it turns out this guy did call John, finding his number in the white pages.
This guy didn't even know John.
No.
Ooh, he just knew his artwork.
And the weird thing is, he had told John he had told me that he was very close friends with John, and he wasn't. And then he had told John that he was very close friends with me, and he wasn't. And he just said, "There's this girl, she looks exactly like the women you keep painting." And so,
Spiritual
isn't that
matchmaker.
So in reality, what we think may have happened is that my apartment at the time, I had a 6th-floor walk up on West Broadway in Prince that I found right after college. And his gallery was on Prince Street between West Broadway and Wooster. So he thinks he may have seen me somehow unconsciously walking around, and then I became this muse and this model in his mind, but he doesn't remember consciously. So there are paintings that he made the year before we met that are dead, like kind of portraits of me, like unbelievably super realistic, and it is really strange. So in reality, the guy did know John. They had met once or twice. He had a gallery in Boston, it turned out. And then the funny end of the story is that we thought, oh, we owe this guy everything, and we're so in love. And like a week later, we're already like living together. And I went to Paris 2 weeks after we met, and I almost I didn't show up to work almost because of that. And he asked me to marry him in Paris. And
2 weeks after.
2 weeks after
2
we
weeks
met.
after, yeah.
And I actually said, I am going to marry you. I'm going to have your children, but you have to meet my parents first because I love my parents and it will really kill them if I just marry somebody they haven't met yet. And so we got married a little bit after that, but it was just like crazy. And so the crazy part of the story, so the guy calls maybe about a week or two after we've been very seriously in love and like basically living together. And I'm lying in bed naked when he calls, and the guy says, "Hi, John, how's it going?" And then John says, "It's amazing. I'm so in love. Thank you so much." And he goes, "I have another girl and she's even better."
What? Punchline. What?
Isn't that insane? Isn't that the
so
weirdest
confused.
thing?
Like,
So we don't. So what we've thought in the reality is that the guy was gay and loved John and knew John loved women, and maybe just
Gave him gifts.
gave
Gifted
him
him
gifts,
women.
and somehow the first one stuck, and we were both lucky about that. But and they showed up years later when John was having his show at the MCA Chicago, and I was pregnant with our first child, and he showed up, and it was just like, whoa, like just we realized there's something weird going on.
But
with this
I
guy.
want to emphasize on the woo-woo here for a second, Rachel,
Yeah.
and say that as an observer of the artwork before you met, predating your relationship with John.
Yeah.
We're not talking about like resembling Rachel. We're talking
We're gonna have to show.
staggering. Every little
I can
her
send you
nostrils
images that
flaring,
you
the
could
shape of
include.
her eyes, the
Yeah.
shape of her lips,
Yeah.
her breasts, her
Yes,
arms,
yes,
everything. And I don't
everything.
believe that you can
Everything.
capture that
No.
walking down the block unconsciously.
I agree. So that's the only kind of thing that we could remotely try to because you try to justify things. You try to say like, how did I mean it was so, and also was one of those things where like that moment, that way I just kissed him and it just kind of that it was like a lock and a key kind of thing. It just was like boom. And like, we've been together for 30 years coming up, 1994, the end of September 1994. So it's going to be 30 years this fall from that day. And, of course, 3 kids later and 2 careers that are both artists. And it can be complicated, definitely. It's not always like, smelling the roses. Exactly. But there, there's just been but the connection is so profound. I mean, honestly, on a daily basis, like, I'll be visually thinking about something and then say something to him. And he's like, I was just thinking of the exact same visual thing that you just said. We have weird things. Like we have dreams sometimes that are of the same. I had a dream where I woke up and I said, there was a malachite green mountain. For us, it's all visual, obviously. We're both very visual people. And he was like, I had a dream that I was climbing a green mountain in Ireland. Like, how weird is that? You know what I mean? There's really, so, there's a whole saying that there's like, Aristotle believes there's like, I think it's Aristotle, there's 2 sides that are separated and you have to find your other side, your other half. Like, I just feel like we found it, we were very, very lucky to find it. And, it's really strange and really profound. And I wonder that was a path. I was like, what would have happened if that guy didn't come in and I never met John? Like, what would it be? It's just such a weird, that one really did change my life. Like that day and that change, I
I have a couple more questions about this mystery guy, though.
Yeah.
Like, because you were describing him as like kind of a weird dude.
Well, John says that he remembered him as a cocaine dealer. To all the artists.
Whoops.
And that and that when he showed up in Chicago years later, he was trying to get John to go to that Hugh Hefner mansion. And John was like, my wife's pregnant. I'm like here with my mom and dad too. We're going back to the hotel. Why would I like go to the Hugh Hefner mansion? So what he's heard is that he was like a lower level gang guy, like Irish gang guy in Boston.
Wow, Westy. or
and
whatever
that
they're
he
called.
might have been gay, and of course that's not allowed, and he liked going to art openings too, which is so
Okay.
weird, and the whole thing is
That's a little side story.
Yeah,
little
Like,
side
'cause
story.
It seems like here's what I was imagining.
Yeah,
here's the fairy tale.
But the truth is, we don't know if it's true. We don't know
But
anything.
what I mean
yeah.
is, like, you would imagine that this guy that like put you two together
Yeah.
is like, and now we have tea every Sunday because he's and then it's not like it's not
So
like
that's
that.
what I was thinking too. Like, so when when he set us up, I was like, oh my God, this guy is like Rumpelstiltskin. I'm going to give him my first child.
Exactly,
Like,
right.
because he's really small. And
he's
really,
like
he
Rumpelstiltskin.
reminded me
Okay.
so much of Rumpelstiltskin. And I was like, oh my God, he's amazing. But then it turned out he's sinister like Rumpelstiltskin. Like there's some edge where.
Fairy tale,
Right, I
theme
love the
is
fairy
waving
tale
through.
theme throughout.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like you had
totally.
your Prince Charming
know.
awake you from that deep sleep.
It's true.
I'm going with the kiss.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm doing
It's
this.
true.
We're
It's
going.
true.
Also,
Minute.
it's
True.
It's deep.
And then the whole thing was about Sleeping Beauty, and the whole thing was, but that started it was Sleeping Beauty, and
Even
like,
put that together.
yeah,
wow.
it's crazy.
See, that's woo woo in itself. Okay,
Yeah.
that really is.
This is a cool.
This
Yeah.
is cool. Like this is
woo
amazing.
story.
yeah.
It's-
no,
it's-
I'm getting goose
Yeah.
bumps
I am
even
too. It's
now.
incredible.
You know the story.
And
You're
I've
still
been
getting
it, and
goosebumps.
I'm living it in the sense that I know the reality. I
Yeah.
know like the not fairy tale side of it all, but it
Yes.
still totally amazes me. It really, it's actually makes me think that, fairy tales are really, really important because there's this magical quality that exists in life, and that, you forget it in this everyday existence of the grind of like, oh, I gotta go pick up the kids, or I gotta go wash my hair. And you just realize, no, there is something that is this undercurrent and this thread that is insanely profound,
Yeah.
And this
So
kind
true.
of story perpetuates magical thinking.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
we talk a lot about
Yes.
magical thinking
Yes.
because I
Yes.
love magical
Me
thinking. I want to
too.
just like will things into existence.
Yes.
But then
Absolutely.
you're like, well, that's not how life works. But
Yeah.
then you hear this story and it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, like every
Yeah.
so often,
Well,
there's a reason
I
there's
think?
magic.
I think that what I really truly believe is that, again, going back to that undercurrent idea, like I'm super into Jungian psychoanalysis, and I've been I've been doing it since COVID began, and this idea of dreams and that you're unconscious. Why
too.
do you have dreams? Like, what is the purpose of them?
Right,
There is no
absolutely.
purpose except that there is a window to this very subtle, very undercurrent thing that is happening all the time around us. And that people who are psychics and who can pick up things do it because they're able to cut the chatter out. And so that's what artists do. That's what you guys do. You notice different scenarios of people that become really interesting, and you use that in your work. I notice that visually, and that's what I do in my work. And so people who are prophets or whatever, either through comedy, through art, through music, they're just able to see a little bit underneath the bullshit that happens every day,
That's so true and so amazing.
You can't see my face right now, but I have a stunned
Yeah.
look of being
Stunned.
very impressed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I know,
Thank
because
you.
it's
I
so
love this stuff.
poignant.
No, I mean, I almost went into psychology myself. So I'm
Amazing.
very into it and all the dreams and all that. Even though I know it's boring to hear other people's dreams, but I like hearing them because
Yeah.
I like the
Me
way
too.
people describe a dream.
Absolutely.
I had a dream last night that I was flying, but I was not flying like I just elevated myself.
Wow.
But it wasn't like I was flying, but I elevated myself.
The day your special came out.
That's beautiful.
And I'll give a moment
Ah,
for you to be
Paging Dr. Dratch, paging Dr. Dratch.
That's
what we call
awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome.
elevated yourself.
I elevated
Yeah.
myself because I wasn't
Yeah.
really flying, but I had control and I did
That's
elevate
That's actually
myself.
I
better
like
than
that.
flying.
I like the word
actually.
elevating.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that's
I have chills
use
on that one. I
Really?
know, Yes. yeah.
Wow. Okay, maybe we
That's
will leave
fantastic.
this in. And
I think it's fantastic. I think that the truth is also the symbols are really important. And
Yes.
the interesting thing is that that's why I love Jungian and also being an artist is because symbols in the entire world, like in cultures that have never even met each other in different centuries, are all kind of the same. So there's very few civilizations where Earth is a male. Earth almost is always a female.
Woman. Yes,
and
female.
sky is almost always a male. And it's because there's a reason for it. Of course, there's the fertility and birth, and that there's sky culture, which is through the brain and not through the body. And the earth is through the body and not through the brain. So it's this incredible combination of all these different things, which are about opposites, and how opposites, the dark and the light and the male and the female, they all need each other. And
Yin
if
and
one
yang.
becomes stronger than the other, it offsets the whole balance of everything. And so that's why I really think the unconscious is amazing, because you get these symbols that are there for everybody. And that's like, it's this very famous guy, Joseph Campbell. His whole thing was about exposing this to Western kind of civilization, because, like, I think Eastern philosophy has more of an understanding of all this than Western, but then now it's like this combination of both of them, with the idea of paganism and how Easter came from obviously the rites of spring and all that. So it's just like this wonderful thing where we're all doing the same thing over and over again in every civilization and in every culture, but we just are churning it out a little bit differently, but with the same thing, which is also sad, because we're not learning about war anymore. We keep doing the same thing about war. We keep treating women the same. You know what I mean? It's like no one seems to learn. It's just like this crazy thing. And so I had a dream that I was watching a snake like move around, and there were these like a little nest of baby newborn mice, because I used to have mice. That's what I was talking about. The penis had the skin of it. That was like my first pet as a child, and they would have kept having babies, and I remember being really freaked out by how weird the little newborn mice look. And I thought, of course, that meant something predatory, like this snake is about to eat this mice. And then my Jungian dream woman said, no, the snake actually is the symbol of primitive mother.
What?
That snakes actually protect their young. And they don't have any consciousness, you would imagine, as a maternal figure, but they do consciously protect their young.
I mean, I gotta talk to you later. The snake seems very male.
Totally,
to me.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's things that you start. I just love, because I find out new things that I didn't know about a lot.
So
of the
can I
time.
ask you about this? You go to a Jungian psychologist. Is it like sort of an approach to therapy, or is it more of...
It's a different type of therapy. So basically, Freudian is what most people I think are now, which is the idea that something happened in your childhood that really changed your life, and you need to kind of work it out. And it's problems with your mom and dad. I did that for a long time, and I got so tired of just complaining. I was just like,
yes,
I was like,
exactly.
what am I getting from this?
Yes.
Exactly.
I will come out of it just spent and depressed, and I couldn't go to my studio. I couldn't work. I was like, what the fuck have I gotten out of this? And Freudian is male.
Right.
It's totally a male-centered way of seeing things. And Jungian is Carl Jung, who is they knew each other. They actually took a cruise together, and someone even made a movie about how weird is that. I guess they analyzed each other's dreams on this cruise, and it's really wacky. And Jung is very, very female-based, and the idea is that who cares about your parents and all this shit. It's all about, it's
primarily the mother, by the way.
Yeah. And everything is in your dreams, though, that all the secrets to your life are being revealed to you. So this idea,
I love that. It gives us so much more control over our lives.
And it's also so creative. So when I talk to her and I tell her a dream, and we have this really incredible just conversation, I don't say my husband's an asshole because he drank all the coffee today. It's none of that. It's none of the bullshit of everyday. I don't want the everyday. I want to go into that deep undercurrent that I was talking about. So this accesses this for me. And I talk about Isis and Egyptian mythology. And
I bet you're her most interesting client. I'm just going to say right now. Everyone's like, I had a dream I was going around in a circle and it was all the same. And you're like, Isis and mythology.
Well, that's what she'll bring that out. I'll like tell her something. I mean, I'll have sometimes totally mundane, stupid dreams. And then she'll say something. I'm like another really crazy thing that I found out is this is something I did not know until I started working with her. This is so actually amazing. So if you think that you spend, what is it, like at least a quarter or 1/3 of your life sleeping, right? that when you're actually consciously aware that you're sleeping, you gain that time back. I am in my dreams, aware that I'm dreaming, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to talk to her about this dream. So I'm actually in my dream being consciously unconscious, if that makes sense.
Wow.
I'm in
Isn't
a
this-
position
it's-
of
stunned
arms to the sky.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's incredible. And
is
so-
this like a form, Rachel? I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this like a form of,
Yeah.
would you say, like lucid dreaming then?
Not really. I've had that happen before. This is more like, sometimes I do forget. A lot of times I do. If there's a lot of shit going on in my life, I do forget my dreams. It's really weird. You have to be really like, I can't be drunk, like going to bed drunk. I'll fucking never remember anything. You know what I mean? You have to be, it's almost like you're on the job.
Clear.
You're just like, okay, I need to work out some stuff. So this is the other way of thinking about it. If the whole world is opposites, everything is opposites, everything. The whole world, there's the sun, there's the moon, there's the male, there's the female, there's the day, there's the light. There's everything is its own other side. There's consciousness and there's unconsciousness. They're literally as powerful opposites to each other as male and female is in sun and moon. So in your unconscious, you can be anything you want. You're not a woman who's 52 years old. You could be a child. You could be a dog. And all those things are you. Everything you dream in your dream. If I dream that I'm sitting in this room with you guys, you and this room are me. They're extensions of me because I've made them in my dream. So they're all symbols of other sides of my personality.
Right.
You become a side of my personality.
Right.
This wood furniture becomes a side of my personality. So you are assuming a completely different identity because you can porously move through anything, basically, which is a beautiful idea.
Well, that's the philosophy that in a dream, you're every single person.
Being an artist is about being porous and about being outside of yourself and about connecting to those other people within your unconscious. Being an artist is about completely being able to be in different zones of the world at different times, different bodies. It is about your unconscious, and your unconscious is not about being a white Jewish 52-year-old woman from Miami, at all. It's about tapping into that undercurrent again.
That we all
that we
share.
all
The
share.
universal.
We
The
all
universal,
share.
soul.
agreed.
And if you
That's
believe
interesting.
in past lives, it means that you've been all these different people at different times, and you're tapping into that, which possibly is true, possibly not. It's an unknown.
Right.
I feel the same way. I mean, it's in the art world, but it's also in the comedy world, that it's connecting to people.
yeah.
It's full
When
connection.
you were saying you can be this, you can be that. That's always how I describe doing improv. Is like,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
could, like what I love about improv as opposed to, the more like Hollywood casting is like improv. You can step out and be anything.
I love that,
Absolutely.
Rachel.
And it's
It
so
is.
freeing.
It's amazing.
Yes, and
It is.
that's actually a perfect example.
Have you ever dreamed something that, I'm going to assume, yes, that then has become an art piece, or like, do you get a lot of
Yes.
your material from
Yes,
dreams?
absolutely. Like that, it will be John and I both, like, we'll just wake up and do a drawing and it's come into fruition completely. And so basically he basically made this little sketch coming out of the bed and it became this painting, and it's the craziest, weirdest, most amazing painting. And it means something, and it needs to be out in the world, but we still don't even really understand what it is. Like, and you just have to, you yourself are like a vessel, and you're just letting things come through you.
And
from
it's like you're
somewhere.
still inspired while you're sleeping. I mean, Drach, have you ever, like, I know as a comedian, I've written jokes.
I've dreamed a
Yeah,
couple. I had to
absolutely.
write this speech once, like long ago, and I dreamed a couple jokes and I used them.
Yes.
Exactly. Me too. That's what I mean. Me
That's
too.
what I mean. You're basically,
Yeah, you're still working.
aware
Yeah.
of everything. But, the idea of turning everything off is it's not, of course we all need to turn off. We need to go on vacation.
Right.
You need to, but unplug.
Yeah.
But like dreaming is this incredible access to creative people, to some weird thing
Damn.
that is like really,
Healing.
really unknown.
It's not only healing,
I just noticed that
dreaming.
too.
It's not only prophetic and healing, but we can now add you can be prolific and inspired in your dreams
Absolutely.
too.
Wait, can I say a dream
Yes,
thing?
you
A funny
can,
dream
sweetie.
thing?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
guys do the spelling bee? The New York Times, the spelling bee
No.
word puzzle?
No, I do Wordle.
So this I have to do this every single day, and I love it so much. But anyway, so one thing you have to figure out is the pangram, which is you use all 7 letters to make the word, and that's like the thing. That's like the nugget you have to find among all your words. So like one day I couldn't find it, and then I went to sleep, and that night I dreamed what the pangram was in my dream.
And
I
it
was
worked?
like, "What?"
And it worked.
Wow.
Yes, that
and
was
it
it.
worked. Wow,
Amazing.
that's
That was a really cool.
See,
I'm sorry.
This is more and more what I just keep saying.
Yep.
It is an incredible portal to, like, the idea that people can telepathically say things to each other. It's like this weird idea. It just opens up this weird portal.
Inspired by this.
Yes,
I feel like
I
I've
do.
gone to like a spiritual retreat in this amount of time. I feel transformed. I feel like I needed to have this like plug in to this energy.
You know what you guys need to listen to? This is how I got on this road.
Yeah.
Whoa, please tell
So
us. We're
Carl
on it.
Jung has a lot of books, but they're very difficult to read because they're super intense, and I can't get through them. So there's this one book that he wrote called Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, and it's actually he wrote it with a kind of ghostwriter friend about the story of his life and how he got to where he is and his understanding. And it is one of the most entertaining, crazy, profound audible books. It's read by like an English, beautiful accented guy. And I've listened to it like 4 times because I'm obsessed with it. And it talks about his childhood and how he started to see things the way he started to see things. And it's incredible. It's like mind-blowingly amazing, actually.
Wow.
So it's on Audible, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. I highly recommend it. It just has
And
like
we
something.
will be listening to
Yeah,
it.
it's fantastic. And I do it when I'm working. I actually re-listen to it because I find the experience to be weirdly transcendental to get into that unconscious state when I'm in my studio and I'm just painting or I'm doing sculpture or just kind of doing stuff with my hands, because I don't have to be typing or, you know what I mean, writing words. I can get into a nonverbal job and listen to these words, and it's incredible.
Wow.
Incredible. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
If I, you know what I'm seeing in my mind right now?
Yeah.
The emoji with the brain being blown off.
Yeah.
That's it. I've got nothing. Okay, that's what I see.
Let's put this in simple terms.
Okay. So
Okay.
here's the thing.
Okay.
Okay.
We
just go to the Jackie.
Let's go to the
Yeah.
Jackie. So
Okay,
now
okay.
I met Jackie because
Yes.
I often talk about her on this
Yes,
podcast,
yes.
and she's always served me well. I met her through Rachel.
Yes, yes.
She was very spot on with you because she
Yeah.
predicted. Why don't you tell us what
about
she
the
predicted
kids,
for you?
right? She was, So
Oh,
yeah,
you told me
it's
this.
crazy.
Yeah.
So as a birthday present for my son who was born, so Lisa got me a reading with Jackie, and I gave her the 2 birth dates of my sons. They were born back to back. I was like Irish twins. I got pregnant while I was breastfeeding, and I was like really overwhelmed. And she said, "Oh, the first one, one was 1 and one was a newborn. It was just crazy." And she said, "Well, the older one's going to be an artist, and he's going to be pretty solitary and keep to himself, and probably live on." I think she said like Cape Cod, like near the water,
lucky.
and then the
Fabulous.
younger one's gonna probably get married really young and have lots of children really young and love to be around animals in a farm and like loves nature, and then you're gonna have a third. I'm like, what? I've just had 2 and I'm like dying right now. And she's like, no, it's gonna be a girl. She's gonna come like 6 years later, and she's an impresario. She's gonna want a lot of attention. And so my daughter is 14 now, and she's a singer.
Is she?
Yeah, and she wants to be a musician. She loves being in front of people on stage, the whole thing.
She's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. Then Francis is in college right now for art. And my younger son is a senior in high school and has had a long-term girlfriend whose family, the dad's a veterinarian.
Should I be afraid with my reading with Jackie then?
Isn't that amazing?
She scared me about Jackie because Jackie gave her a bad prophecy.
Really?
Did you know
She
this?
prophesied death or had a premonition.
Actually, she said something to me about death too. And I just forgot about this. And she pointed out the day she said, and that was the day that my son got type 1 diabetes. She actually said something really important, someone's going to die. And his insulin making cells died. And he's been on an insulin pump and has, I mean, thank God that's totally livable and survivable. But I was terrified something bad was going to happen. And that was what it was. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Am I
what scares
crazy?
me about
Yeah.
messing with the
the
the magic
Yeah.
arts.
Yeah.
if you
the
will.
magic arts.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
It's like there's the fun stuff.
I know.
and then
the-
there's this,
No.
but I told Jackie,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
Rachel,
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
don't withhold.
Yeah.
I don't
But-
want to hear about these
yeah.
ominous predictions,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking know because I also believe that. So what I've been doing is I've been focusing so hard just to say, you know what, you're in control.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
re-manifest anything that she said because she has been accurate.
Yeah.
She's been a little off with me. She's
Yeah.
made predictions like you're going to be in this big theater and there's a screen and I'm thinking it's for me
Yeah.
or something's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm in a thing or something happens and then it's for my, then
And
it
then we
happens.
went to a thing where we're in the audience.
Wow. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my
exactly.
God,
Remember
that's-
that?
She
I'm
did
like,
say about
bitch.
this. She said you're going to be doing something where you're like a sidekick to a physical comedian.
She did. And you know what?
Wow.
She said, and remember what she said? She did. And this is Rachel and me. And she said I was going to
Wow.
be the Ethel to Lucy. Remember?
That's amazing.
Remember I said that?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And she said it was going to be highly successful.
how long-
Oh,
Hashtag.
we're waiting, Jackie.
How long ago did she predict? When did she predict that?
So far, this is a labor of love, Jackie. Successful in laughter for ourselves. Okay,
God.
but wait,
This has been amazing.
And then you know what about Irene's pendulum?
No.
right? Okay, well,
No.
Irene has a pendulum. It predicts the future.
You know,
I
sweetie.
boiled it down to that. Do you have a yes or no question that you want us? Nothing to like. If it's one answer or the other, it's gonna really bum you out. Like just
Okay.
something that you want to know, but it's not like earth shattering. A yes or no.
Gosh.
It could be about work. It could be about.
Okay.
Okay. you
Am
got
I?
one?
Should I say it?
You think it,
Okay.
but you're going to reveal it, so it has to be
Okay.
something you're comfortable
Okay.
revealing.
Okay.
Okay. So you thinking about it?
Yes.
It's saying no. I'm going to ask it again.
Okay.
And it's saying no again. That's the safety.
Okay.
What is it?
It was for the Highline plinth that I'm up for.
Oh, it said no.
Yeah, but it's okay. The truth is, this is the way I look at everything. I've been up for lots of big sculpture commissions. The thing is if you get it, sometimes it's not what you expect. And
Okay.
sometimes if you don't get it, then the project goes somewhere else. So there's everything. That's
Oh
the
my
way you
gosh.
have to.
I'm coming to give you a hug.
Yeah.
right now
Yeah.
because This is how I want my life. I want to think about my life this way. Because it doesn't put pressure on you. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
just to trust the process.
Yeah.
Get back on the mic,
Get
Irene.
back on the mic, Irene. But it's a great reminder.
It is a good
that
reminder.
We're exactly where we need to be in life.
Well, you can initiate it.
Yeah.
You have the power to make yourself where you need to be.
Right.
But then there's also a whole other thing that you're completely out of control, and you cannot do things,
Right.
and you have to really. I like it best to think about it as a wave. When you're in the ocean and there's a really big wave coming, you're just like, you don't sit there and freak out because it's not going to be good. You let the wave just take you up, and then you let the wave take you really, really down. And so life is like really much like that. You're just like, there's moments that just absolutely suck, and you just hope for the next wave. It's going to go up.
And it's also like life is like a fairy tale. Like you said, fairy tales are very magical and they're wonderful, but they are shrouded with, moments of tragedy.
Yeah, and the truth is,
drama.
it's sometimes like real life is much worse than even the fairy tale. That's what's really crazy.
And on that note,
note, we're going to go see a
No. I was gonna say I love that. My takeaway is I like the thing about when you're the dreaming, like almost as an assignment, or just to use your unconscious time,
Absolutely.
and think of it as using it wisely instead of just like, nah, I'm asleep. I like that concept.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
has been
Pleasure. My pleasure.
As Irene said, emoji,
Yeah.
mind blow.
I love sitting with you guys.
It's been amazing. I love you, Rachel. Thank you so
Love
much
you
for
guys.
coming
Oh,
on.
wait, what about, did you want to talk about what you have coming up?
So there's a big show at the
you wanna
Bass
see her
Museum.
art.
In Miami Beach. It's going to be opening at the end of September.
Sorry, wait, what museum?
The
'Cause I talked to-
Bass Museum.
Bass
It's like, it's
Museum.
basically the big, beautiful contemporary art museum right next to the Miami Beach Convention Center where they have Miami Basel. So it will be
Okay.
up basically end of September. We don't have the date yet, but somewhere end of September, early October, and it'll be open all the way till July 2025. And it's going to be up during Miami Basel. And it's basically about my childhood in Miami. Like it's going to be really like my works that were about my childhood in Miami. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then maybe the High Line.
It depends on Penji.
It depends on
Penji's accuracy,
Penji.
hopefully going down.
Penji, you
Actually,
know?
the maquette for that is on the High Line right now. So they just installed it. There are 12 different models for what is the proposal for this giant piece that's going to be on the High Line. And so it's up for a whole summer. It's open now till like the end of the summer or something.
That's amazing. You'll keep us updated with the
I will.
result, right?
I will.
And we'll
I will.
announce it.
Yes. It's
Okay.
on like West 30th and the High Line, right around there.
Fantastic.
Okay, cool.
We love you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
And if you want to see the paintings that Rachel's husband did before he met Rachel, and then a painting of Rachel after he met her, check out my Instagram at Ray Dratch, at R-A-E Dratch, that is, because I had to make it confusing and I can't figure out how to just switch it to Rachel. R-A-E Dratch. And then Irene, you're at what?
I'm at Irene Bremes, IRENEBREM as in Mary, I-S.
Okay, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the world of woo-woo. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Woo Woo with Rachel Dratch is a Q Code production. Executive produced by David Henning and Steve Wilson. Produced by Alexa Gabrielle Ramirez. Edited by Ben Milchev.